Nurse Ta moved gracefully on her 6 slender legs across the examination room, her iridescent skin reflecting the soft blue lights overhead. As the Galactic Health Coalition's leading specialist in xenobiological reproduction, she had studied over 300 species, but humans were entirely new territory. "Computer, final systems check," she said, her voice a melodic chirp. Her antennae twitched as she reviewed the data on her floating screen. "All systems functioning at optimal capacity," the computer replied. "Environmental controls set for Earth standard atmosphere. Temperature at 22 degrees Celsius. Humidity at 45%. Ta nodded, satisfied. Her exoskeleton clicked softly as she arranged her instruments. The Coalition had made first contact with Earth only 7 months ago, and information exchange had been carefully managed. Humans were surprisingly adaptable, but still easily startled. Her mission was scientific but sensitive. Document human reproductive practices for the Galactic Medical Database. "Time until arrival of subjects?" she asked. 17 units remaining, the computer responded. Ta used the time to review her notes once more. Humans were unusual: internal gestation, live birth, extended nurturing periods. But most intriguing was their apparent ability to reproduce without seasonal cycles. No other sentient species could do this. If confirmed, it would revolutionize galactic medicine. When the door slid open with a soft hiss, Ta straightened to her full height, nearly 2 meters. 2 humans entered, looking around curiously. "Welcome," Ta said, attempting the human expression of pleasure by raising the corners of her mouth flaps. "I am Nurse Ta, xenobiological reproduction specialist." The male human was tall with dark hair and broad shoulders. The female was slightly shorter with long black hair. Both wore the simple blue uniforms provided to all visitors to the station. "I'm Jun," the male said, extending a hand as humans did in greeting. "This is my wife, Kim." Tay touched his hand briefly with one of her upper limbs. Human skin was warm, soft, fascinating. "You have been selected for the reproduction study based on your pair bond status," Tai explained, gesturing toward her monitoring equipment. "The Coalition is eager to understand human biological practices." Kim and Jun exchanged glances. Ta noted their facial expressions but couldn't interpret them. Her studies on human communication were still in early stages. "We were told this was a general health survey," Kim said. "No one mentioned reproduction." Ta blinked her compound eyes in sequence, her species equivalent of a thoughtful pause. "Reproduction is a fundamental health function. Are you not comfortable discussing it?" Jun shifted his weight. "It's just private for humans." "Privacy," Tay repeated, recording the term in her notes. "A cultural taboo regarding reproduction, common among pre-spacefaring species." "Not a taboo exactly," Jun clarified. "Just personal." Tay's antennae quivered with interest. "Most fascinating. The Coalition records show your species engages in pair bonding before reproduction. Is this correct?" "Well, yes," Kim said. "Jun and I have been married for 3 years." "Married? Your formal pair bond designation," Tai confirmed. "And this ritual enhances reproductive success." Jun coughed slightly. "It's more about love and commitment than reproduction." Ta paused her recording. This wasn't in her briefing materials. "Love. This emotional state affects reproduction." "Of course," Kim said, her voice warm. "For humans, reproduction isn't just biological. It's emotional too." Tay's exoskeleton fluttered with excitement. This was unprecedented data. She made a rapid series of clicks, her species' expression of scientific delight. "Please," she said, gesturing toward a doorway that slid open at her approach. "The examination area is prepared. We will begin with basic scans." The humans peered through the doorway cautiously. Inside was a large chamber with a single platform in the center, surrounded by floating medical devices. "Is that the breeding chamber?" Jun asked hesitantly. "Yes," Ta confirmed. "It monitors all biological processes. The coalition has similar facilities for all species under study. Kim's face flushed pink, a physiological response Tay recognized as embarrassment or stress. "We're not going to. We can't just," Kim stammered. Tay tilted her head, confused. "Is the environment unsuitable?" The computer assured me it was optimized for human physiology. Jun put his arm around Kim's shoulders. "I think there's been a misunderstanding. Humans don't perform reproduction for scientific observation." Tay's antennae drooped slightly, a sign of confusion in her species. "How else can we document the process?" "Perhaps," Kim suggested gently, "we could start by explaining how human relationships work instead." Tay considered this deviation from protocol. Her mission was to collect data, but perhaps the approach needed modification for this unusual species. "Very well," she decided. "A preliminary interview before physical examination. The coalition will adapt." As Tay led them to a more comfortable sitting area, she couldn't help but think this assignment would be unlike any other in her 300 years as a xenobiological specialist. Humans were already defying every expectation. Tay guided Kim and Jun to a comfortable sitting area with curved furniture designed to accommodate various body types. Her long fingers tapped rapidly on a floating screen, adjusting her research parameters. "Let us begin the standard protocol," Tay said, her voice chirping with professional enthusiasm. "First, we isolate compatible genetic materials for analysis." She gestured toward 2 sealed pods at the far end of the room. The transparent chambers glowed with soft blue light, filled with delicate instruments that hovered like metallic insects. "These examination units will extract and analyze your reproductive cells," Tay explained. "Most efficient method across 97% of known species." Jun looked at the pods, then at Kim, and suddenly had to press his lips together to stop from laughing. Kim nudged him with her elbow, but her eyes also sparkled with amusement. "Is something incorrect?" Tay asked, her antennae twitching with concern. Jun cleared his throat. "That's not exactly how humans do things." Tay's 6 eyes blinked in sequence, moving from left to right across her face, her species' expression of confusion or deep thought. "Explain," she requested, adjusting her recording device. Kim leaned forward slightly. "For humans," she began gently, as if explaining to a child, "reproduction involves privacy, emotional connection, and personal choice." "Privacy," Tay repeated, her exoskeleton clicking as she shifted position. "You mentioned this concept earlier. It means absence of observation." "More or less," Jun confirmed. "Human reproduction typically happens in private, between partners who care for each other." Tay's fingers moved rapidly across her screen, documenting every word. The appendages blurred with speed as she captured this unexpected information. "Most species across the galaxy require medical intervention or are driven by seasonal hormonal shifts," Tay explained. "The Zorbani can only reproduce during their planet's 3rd moon alignment. The flocks require enzymatic injections to activate fertility." She looked up from her notes, her compound eyes reflecting the room's light in faceted patterns. "You can simply choose when to reproduce." "More or less," Jun nodded. "We have biological cycles, but they're not as restrictive as what you're describing. And the emotional aspect is quite important," Kim added. Tay froze completely, a behavior of her species indicating extreme surprise. "Emotions affect reproduction." Her voice rose to a higher pitch. "The Galactic Health Coalition has documented no such connection in any species we've studied." The nurse began pacing, her 6 legs moving in rapid sequence. "Emotional states influencing biological processes. This contradicts centuries of established xenobiology." Kim smiled softly. "Perhaps your research should focus less on our biology and more on our relationships." Tay stopped pacing abruptly. "Relationships affect biological functions." "For humans, absolutely," Jun confirmed. "Stress can prevent conception. Feeling safe and loved can enhance it." Tay made a series of rapid clicks, her species' expression of scientific excitement. This is revolutionary data. The coalition must reconsider our entire approach to human studies. She quickly retracted the examination pods, which slid silently into the wall. New approach required. Tell me about these human relationships. Kim and Jun exchanged glances, more comfortable now. Where should we start? Kim asked. Begin with pair bonding, Ta suggested. You mentioned marriage earlier. Is this a reproductive contract? Jun laughed. Not exactly. It's a commitment to share our lives together. But reproduction is the primary purpose. Ta pressed. For some couples, maybe, Kim said. But many humans marry with no intention of having children. It's about companionship, love, building a life together. Tae's antennae drooped slightly, a sign of deep confusion. Non-reproductive pairing. What evolutionary purpose does this serve? Happiness, Jun said simply. Tai stared at them silently for several seconds, her compound eyes unblinking. I don't understand, she finally admitted. This requires additional study. She adjusted her floating screen again, pulling up new research templates. The coalition has extensive protocols for physical examination, but none for emotional assessment. Kim reached out hesitantly, then gently touched Ta's arm. The alien nurse looked at the human hand on her iridescent exoskeleton with fascination. Does your species form pair bonds, Ta? Kim asked softly. We form community units for efficiency, Ta responded, but not for happiness. Maybe we can teach each other, Jun suggested. Tae's antennae perked up. Yes. Cultural exchange, not merely biological study. I must report this development immediately. She tapped a sequence on her communication device. This changes everything we thought we knew about humans. You are far more complex than our preliminary data suggested. Kim smiled. Most species probably are, if you look beyond the biology. Ta tilted her head, considering this idea. A profound observation. Perhaps all our xenobiological protocols require revision. She made another series of excited clicks. The Galactic Health Coalition has much to learn from humans. Ta hovered nervously before the quantum transmission panel. After 2 weeks of intensive research with Kim and Jun, she had gathered enough data to present her preliminary findings to the Galactic Health Coalition headquarters. The screen flickered to life, revealing Director Ryu's stern face. Like Ta, Ryu had an exoskeleton, but hers was a deep purple color signifying leadership status. Researcher Ta, your report is overdue, Director Ryu said, her mandibles clicking with impatience. Ta straightened her posture, her antennae rigid with professional pride. Director, I apologize for the delay, but the human reproduction study has yielded unexpected discoveries that required thorough verification. Proceed, Ryu commanded. Humans can reproduce year-round. Ta began, unable to contain her scientific excitement. They require no hibernation period, no seasonal triggers, and their pair bonds often last decades. Her upper limbs gestured emphatically as she spoke. Most remarkable of all, they've developed complex social structures around reproduction that appear to enhance their species' survival. Ta quickly displayed charts comparing human reproductive patterns to those of 12 other sentient species. The differences were striking. The Xerillians reproduce once every 7 cycles and then die, Ta continued. The Pelthori require 3 genetic donors and artificial gestation. Humans simply form emotional attachments and create offspring whenever they choose. Director Ryu's compound eyes narrowed slightly. Interesting, she replied, her tone revealing little. Their biological efficiency could be valuable. Continue observations. Expand your sample size. The screen went dark before Ta could explain her new research approach. She felt a flutter of concern beneath her exoskeleton. Director Ryu had missed the point about emotional connections, focusing only on reproductive efficiency. This could lead to misunderstandings about human nature. The next day, Ta entered the observation lounge to find Kim and Jun chatting with 4 new humans. The coalition had approved her request for additional subjects overnight. Nurse Ta. Kim called, waving her over. Come meet our friends. Tay approached carefully, noting the new human's body language. Unlike the fearful reactions she often received from species encountering her arthropod form for the first time, these humans looked merely curious. This is Hai and Jun explained, gesturing to a younger couple. They're newly married and planning to have their first baby next year. Ha smiled shyly. She had short black hair and bright eyes. Jun stood protectively close to her, his arm around her shoulders. And this is Du and Min, Kim continued, indicating an older couple with gray in their hair. They have 3 grown children and 2 grandchildren. 3 offspring, Todd exclaimed, her voice rising to a surprised chirp. And you survived the process. Min laughed warmly. Not only survived, but enjoyed it. Would you like to see pictures? Before Tai could answer, Min was showing her a small device filled with images of 3 humans at various stages of development, from tiny infants to full adults. All these came from you? Tai asked in amazement. With Du's help, Min said, smiling at her husband. Tai's recording device hovered nearby, capturing every detail. Please, tell me more about your family units. How do multiple generations interact? For the next several hours, the humans shared stories about their families, parents, siblings, children, and grandparents. They described holidays, conflicts, traditions, and support networks. Tai listened, fascinated by the complex web of relationships that seemed to stretch across time and space. So even after offspring reach maturity, emotional bonds remain? She asked. Of course, Du nodded. Our oldest son lives on the other side of the world, but we talk every week. When he needed help starting his business, we sent money. When Min was sick last year, he flew home immediately. Your capacity to form multi-generational communities centered around reproduction is unprecedented. Ta told them as they finished sharing their family stories. Her antennae quivered with excitement. No other species maintains such extensive kinship bonds. It's just family, Ha shrugged, looking slightly embarrassed by Ta's enthusiasm. Nothing special. In galactic terms, Tay replied, her voice solemn. It's revolutionary. Later that night, alone in her quarters, Tay reviewed the day's recordings. The humans had revealed something the Coalition had never encountered before: reproductive strategies based on emotional connections that span generations. She began drafting a more comprehensive report, knowing Director Ryu would focus on biological efficiency rather than emotional bonds. How could she make her superiors understand that the human approach to reproduction couldn't be separated from their complex social structures? As she worked, a troubling thought formed in her mind. What would the Coalition want to do with this information? Humans were resilient, adaptable, and reproductively efficient. In galactic terms, these were extremely valuable traits. Too valuable, perhaps, to be left alone. Ta entered the council chamber with her data organized and her arguments prepared. After 4 weeks studying human reproduction, she was ready to present her complete findings to the Galactic Health Coalition's highest authority. The circular room held 7 senior officials seated on elevated platforms. Their exoskeletons gleamed under the bright lights, purple, blue, and green signifying their different departments. Director Ryu acknowledged Todd with a slight movement of her antennae. Researcher Ta, we've reviewed your preliminary reports on human reproduction. The full council has convened to discuss potential applications. Todd felt a flutter of unease. Applications? She had expected questions about her research, not immediate plans for implementation. Thank you, Director, Ta began. As my reports indicate, human reproduction is unique due to its connection with emotional bonding and social. Yes, interrupted Counselor Van, his green exoskeleton clicking impatiently. The emotional aspects have been noted. We're more interested in the biological efficiency. Director Ryu touched a control panel, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed human reproductive cells merging with those of various other species. The Council proposes utilizing humans as breeding stock for endangered species, Director Ryu announced. Their reproductive efficiency is unmatched. With genetic modification, human gestational capabilities could preserve dozens of failing species. Taz stared at the display in horror. The simulation showed humans in medical facilities, connected to machines that harvested their reproductive materials. Absolutely not. Ta stood abruptly, her voice rising to a panicked chirp. Human reproduction cannot be separated from their social structures. It would be both scientifically unsound and ethically wrong. The council members shifted uncomfortably, their compound eyes fixed on her. You've grown too attached to your subjects, Councillor Van accused, his mandibles clicking with disapproval. This compromises your scientific objectivity. My attachment hasn't compromised my work. It has enhanced it, Tai insisted. Humans are not laboratory specimens. They're sentient beings with complex social bonds that directly affect their reproductive abilities. Director Ryu raised a limb for silence. Your concerns are noted, Researcher Ta. However, the potential benefits are too significant to ignore. The Coalition faces extinction-level events on 17 worlds. Human reproductive capabilities offer solutions. Humans would never agree to this, Ta said, her antennae drooping with distress. Their cooperation is preferred but not required. Councillor Van replied coldly. The Treaty of First Contact grants us research authority. Ta struggled to maintain her professional composure. I request more time to demonstrate why this approach won't work. After brief discussion, Director Rio nodded. You have 3 days to present evidence. Until then, this meeting is classified. Dismissed. Tad left the chamber, her 6 legs moving rapidly in distress. The Coalition's plans violated everything she had learned about humans. She had to warn them, even if it meant breaking protocol. That night, after disabling the monitoring systems in the research area, Ta gathered all 6 humans in the observation lounge. I've called you here because you're in danger, she began, her voice low and urgent. The Galactic Health Coalition has misunderstood my research. Kim looked concerned. What do you mean, Ta? They see you as resources, not sentient beings, she explained. They plan to use humans as breeding stock for endangered species. They believe your reproductive efficiency can be harvested and applied to other species. The humans exchanged alarmed glances. They can't just use us like that, Jun protested. Under galactic law, they believe they can, Tai explained. The treaty your leaders signed grants research rights they've interpreted very broadly. The older man, frowned deeply. So what can we do? I have 3 days to prove why their plan won't work, Ta said. I need your help. Kim reached out and took Ta's hand, a gesture that still surprised the alien nurse. Then we'll show them exactly why humanity can't be exploited. How? Tai asked, her antennae quivering with hope. June, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. By demonstrating what really makes human reproduction successful, our connections to each other. Together through the night, the humans and Ta planned a demonstration. They would show the Council that human reproductive success wasn't just biological. It was emotional, social, and cultural. I'm risking my position by warning you, Ta told them as they finalized their plan. If the Council discovers I shared classified information. Min, the older woman, touched Ta's arm gently. You're doing the right thing. That's what matters. Besides, Hay added with a smile, you're practically family now. Tay's compound eyes reflected the dim light as she looked at each human face. In just a few weeks, these strange beings had completely changed her understanding of what family meant. Now she would fight to protect theirs. 3 days to change the Council's mind. Jun said determinedly, let's get to work. 3 days later, Tai stood again before the Galactic Health Coalition Council. This time, she wasn't alone. All 6 humans stood beside her, dressed in their finest clothes. Behind them, a large display screen was ready. Director Ryu's compound eyes narrowed at the unexpected presence of humans in the chamber. Researcher Ta, this is highly irregular. Subjects are not permitted in council proceedings. With respect, Director, Tai replied, her voice steady despite her nervousness. These are not subjects. They are collaborators in my research, and their presence is essential to my presentation. A murmur ran through the council members. Councillor Van clicked his mandibles in disapproval, but Director Ryu, after a moment's consideration, nodded permission to continue. Honored Council, Ta began, I stand before you to demonstrate why the proposed human breeding program cannot succeed. She gestured to the humans beside her. Humans do not reproduce efficiently because of biological advantages. Ta explained to the full council. They succeed because of their connections to each other. Kim stepped forward. We brought something to show you. She activated the display screen, which began showing images and video recordings of human families. There were birthday celebrations with children blowing out candles, wedding ceremonies with couples surrounded by loved ones, hospital scenes where families gathered around newborn babies, grandparents teaching grandchildren to cook, siblings arguing, then hugging, parents staying up all night with sick children, attempting to extract their reproduction from their social context. Jun added, looking directly at the council, would be like trying to separate starlight from stars. One cannot exist without the other. Du and Min presented data showing how human children raised without strong family connections struggled compared to those with supportive families. Hai and Jun shared their own plans for parenthood, emphasizing how their community would help them raise their child. Our reproduction isn't just biological, Kim explained. It's emotional, social, cultural. Ta stepped forward again. The data shows that human stress levels rise dramatically when separated from their social connections. This directly impacts reproductive success. Any attempt to use humans as breeding stock would fail because the very act of isolation would reduce their fertility. The council was silent, their compound eyes fixed on the continuing display of human family life. Even Councillor Van seemed moved by the images of multi-generational support and love. Furthermore, Ta continued, humans have developed strong ethical frameworks around reproduction. Attempting to override these would create resistance that would make any breeding program unsustainable. What do you suggest instead? Director Ryu asked, her tone softer than before. Ta glanced at her human friends, drawing strength from their presence. I propose a complete revision of our approach. Instead of viewing humans as biological resources, we should recognize them as valuable partners in cultural exchange. Jun stepped forward. We're willing to share our knowledge about family structures, emotional bonds, and community support. These insights could help other species facing challenges. A cultural exchange rather than a biological harvest, Director Ryu mused, her antennae twitching thoughtfully. Interesting approach. After hours of presentation and questions, the council withdrew to deliberate. Tai and the humans waited anxiously outside the chamber. You were amazing in there, Kim told Tai, squeezing her hand. When they were called back, Director Ryu stood at the center of the chamber. The council has reached a decision. The proposed breeding program is suspended indefinitely. Ta felt her exoskeleton relax with relief. Instead, Director Ryu continued, we propose a cultural exchange program, as suggested, to learn, not exploit. Researcher Ta, you will lead this initiative as our first ambassador to Earth. 5 years later, Tai sat in a comfortable chair in Hai and Jun's home on Earth. The cultural exchange program had flourished, with representatives from 12 species now living among humans, learning about their family structures. Ha carefully placed a tiny bundle in Ta's arms. The baby girl was just 3 days old, her eyes dark and curious as she looked up at Ta's alien face without fear. We named her Ta, He said, smiling proudly. After the alien who became family. After the friend who protected humanity. Ta felt an unfamiliar warmth in her thorax, an emotional response her species rarely experienced. Carefully, she extended one finger toward the baby. The tiny human grabbed it with surprising strength, holding tight. "I came to study human breeding," Ta whispered to the infant. "Instead, I learned what truly makes your species unique in the galaxy, your capacity for connection." Baby Ta gurgled in response, her tiny fingers still wrapped around the alien's iridescent digit. Around them, the house was filled with family and friends celebrating the new arrival. In that perfect moment, surrounded by the human family that had accepted her so completely, Tai understood that some things transcend biology altogether. The Galactic Health Coalition had sought reproductive efficiency, but had found something far more valuable, a new understanding of what family truly meant.